This is News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. And again, we're going to go right to the phones. We have Jerry Reynolds, the Car Pro, here to talk about your car of the week. How's it going, Jerry?
Hello, fellas. Going well. How about you guys?
It's going well. I think so. We're social distancing. We're stuck at home, and I've got 4 kids that are climbing up the walls. But other than that, it's good.
I see you're the one that came to the studio.
That's right. I'm hiding.
I've got the 2020 Dodge Charger Scatback this week. I've had quite the run of Dodge and Chrysler products here, but this truly is one of my favorite cars. This is not the Hellcat. The Hellcat, as you know, has got 707 horses, and then the Challenger I had a few weeks ago had 797 horses. This car is a little more tame at 485 horses. Big, large, 4-door car, super comfortable, tops out price-wise, right around $50,000. But this car, if I had to choose between the Hellcat at 707 horses and this one at 485, I'd choose this one. Not only because it's a lot less money, but because it's a more manageable car. This is a car that could be your family car. It could be your daily driver, because it's not like the Hellcat where every time you start to take off, you're burning rubber, and even if you don't want to, because it just happens. This car you can drive. This car would be a good mom and dad car, to share. So if one of the two of them had a really heavy foot, when you get on this car, 485 horses, even though the car is big and heavy, it's still a lot of power under the hood. It tops out at 175 miles an hour. So, but it's just not as in your face as some of the other muscle cars that are out there, especially from Chrysler. It's an enjoyable car, really nice interior, lots and lots of options. It's got navigation system and a lot of the new safety features. This is a car I really like. I don't know for $50,000 on today's market what you could get that even compares to this.
So let me ask you this. Do you still get the rebates on it for the amount of horsepower it has? Are they still giving that out?
Yeah, they are. They dropped it, and then when this coronavirus hit, they put it back on. So that'd be a $4,850 rebate before any dealer discounts. So you could get a bargain on this car. You could get this car under $45,000. And for me, that's a really good buy.
And then on top of that, now as far as looks go, and even power, this is one heck of a 4-door. You're not talking about just a 2-door. You would never be able to use in the Challenger the back seat. This is something that you truly can use as a family as long as you don't have 4 kids.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the wide body configuration, which means it's got 3-inch wider tires on the rear. And that helps the traction, even better. So it is a very drivable car, and it's an enjoyable car.
How loud is it?
Pretty loud.
Okay.
You just can't put 485 horses under a hood and not be loud. It's impossible.
Yeah. No, I guess it's a V8. Yeah.
It's a 6.2 liter, and one of the things I love about this car, because you never see this anymore, on the front fender, it says 392, which means it's 392 cubic inches. So if you're, of a generation where that's how we used to look at engine sizes by cubic inches, this is kind of a throwback, 392 cubic inches, but everybody else today goes by 6.2 liters, which never has made any sense to me.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it does seem like an awful lot of money for a 4-door sedan.
It is by today's standards, with the whole rest of the world going to SUVs. But, it's a lot of car. If you want that car that you can get out and just really romp on, or, be an adult with it, this car covers both territories.
So back in the 90s, the last thing you would want, just to be completely honest, was a Dodge car, even in the early 2000s. So they've come a long way in I guess, Does that have a lot to do with Mercedes back when they bought them out?
That really was a disastrous, what was supposed to be a merger. It never was a merger. It was Mercedes taking over Chrysler. And the crazy thing about that one was we really thought that Mercedes would bring Chrysler quality up, which it needed to do at the time.
Right, because it was you didn't want to own one. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know I mean, we're talking K cars and some really lousy vehicles. But what really happened, the reality was that Chrysler drug Mercedes quality down. They went through a real period of building a lot of cars because they were trying to use Chrysler components into Mercedes models. And boy, that whole thing, luckily it didn't last but a few years until they split back up. But, you seldom see, if you look back in history, car companies merging seldom works.
Yeah. So I mean, just looking back historically, they're kind of going back to their roots as far as horsepower. I mean, they were the company of the muscle car. I mean, you had the Plymouth, Chrysler, and Dodge all came out with the big. When you think of muscle cars, that's what you think about: the Chargers, the Challengers, even the Daytonas. If you want to get kind of fancy there. Compared to what they were, and now they're just kind of going back to their roots. It seems like it's working for them.
Yeah, it is. And if you had a Mopar back in the 60s, and we're in the era there of Road Runners and GTXs.
I like those Road Runners, too. And I had a Cornet. I love the Cornets, and they're not very – you don't see them very often, but those Cornets were beautiful as well. I mean, they just had some really nice-looking cars.
Well, and to your point, Matt, Scatback, the name, came out from Chrysler in 1964. And here we are. I've got a Scatback sitting in my driveway, so you're absolutely right.
What do you have going on CarProUSA.com?
The most important article under the news section at CarProUSA.com is right the very first article. Beware the internet during a crisis. People in Lubbock know this better than anybody, what happens when a car dealer goes out of business.
Who are you talking about? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Some new car dealers are not going to make it through this crisis. They were already short on cash, and with most of the dealerships having to close, they're going to be gone. And if you fall into that limbo where you've bought a car and then the dealership goes out of business, you're in for a real rude awakening. And it doesn't have to be that you bought a car today. If you bought a car a month ago, there's a good chance you're not going to get your title and registration. There's a good chance if you've got a trade-in, it's not going to get paid off because these dealers that are short on cash have been short on cash. It doesn't just happen overnight. But I've also got some other things in this article on what to look for with used car values right now. They're all over the board. Auctions are closed, and that's had an effect on it. The big dealers that typically advertise, hey, we'll buy your car no matter what, well, they're not buying cars right now. And if they are buying them, they want to steal them. It's the dealerships still have a vested interest in trade values because they're selling a new car when they trade for a car. But if you were to go try to sell your used car today, and what's been interesting is some of the hardest hit values are your big trucks, your 3/4 ton and 1 ton diesel trucks. They've really taken a nosedive. I don't know the reason for that, but when you look at segments and you go, okay, SUVs are off, 10% from a month ago. Cars are off 15%, but you look at heavy-duty diesel trucks, they're off 25%. And when you start getting up into those $50,000, $60,000 used trucks, 25% is a lot of money. So some people need to just hang on right now. But this article covers everything.
So, Jerry, I'm going to be honest with you. I got a question that I really want to ask, but we really don't have time for it. Can you hold on for another segment right quick?
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back with Jerry Reynolds. I'm going to jump right back with the Car Pro Jerry Reynolds. Don't forget his website is carprousa.com. If you're looking for any of the reviews that we talk about right now, then you can check carprousa.com. Also, if you have a question for him, Saturdays from 11 to 1, you listen on KFYO, call him, and man, you give some of the best advice. And that's why I have this question for you right here. Right now, about the only way in places like Lubbock that you can purchase a car is online. I know that back when this was years ago, but my grandfather ended up buying a Z71, and he tried two different ones, and they both had different amounts of power. And even though they had the exact same engine, exact same options, everything was the same, the two felt differently. How important is it to go out and actually maybe wait until this is over and do a test drive on the vehicles before you buy them?
Yeah, if you're not 100% sure what you're looking for, that's a good idea. But I tell you, I've been amazed at the ways the dealerships have transformed themselves and gotten used to the idea of not people coming to the dealerships, but taking the car to the people, taking it to their house, sanitizing it before they get in, sanitizing it afterwards, and letting people drive it by themselves, because it's hard to social distance in a car. I mean, you can't get, unless it's a van or a big SUV, you can't get 6 feet apart. So they have done a great job with that. And I'm hearing cases now of dealers who have taken 2 or 3 different cars to the same person's house. I mean, they know that it's going to be hard to do business in this environment with the restrictions that they have. But, you know, they still got to sell cars. That overhead goes on. The rent goes on. They're trying to hang on to their people. And they're doing a really, really good job adapting. And what's been interesting, Matt and Dave, is this. As we've gone along now, weeks into this, we have found out that online buying, the consumer loves it because they get all the numbers. I mean, they get every breakdown of tax, title, license, what they're paying for the car, what the interest rate is, what the monthly payment is, without ever stepping foot into the dealership. But the interesting thing has been the dealers have found when they do that, their closing ratio goes way up, meaning the amount of cars sold to the number of inquiries to the dealership. So the conclusion there is, wow, let's be upfront. Let's give everybody what they need. And although we're getting less opportunities, we're still going to sell close to the same number of cars. I got dealers in Dallas-Fort Worth, at least, because I talk to them the most. They're having a good month.
Yeah.
They're selling as many cars as they did last April. So, great question. But it's ever changing, I'll tell you.
Yeah. That's amazing. And how important is a test drive on a vehicle that you're going to buy?
Oh, it's critical. And I can't tell you how many people would call the show and say, gosh, I bought this car about 2 weeks ago, and I found out it isn't me. I don't like it. It hurts my back. I can't see out of it. I mean, there's a million things. It's critical to take that test drive. And boy, you sure don't want to spend that kind of money only to find out that you made a mistake. And there's still this misnomer out there that if you buy a car, you've got 3 days to take it back. That is absolutely not true.
Yeah. Once you sign the dotted line, it's yours.
Oh, as soon as you pull out of the dealership, you have taken delivery, and it is your car.
Yeah.
Now, a good dealer, if somebody realizes they made a mistake really quick, they'll typically work with you and take the car back as long as you buy something else from them. But no dealer's probably going to just say, oh, okay, we were just kidding. I mean, at some point, the registration is done usually within a couple of days. Might be a little longer right now, but once that registration's done, that car has to be sold as used.
All right. Jerry, thanks for coming on. This is Car Pro Jerry Reynolds. Remember, again, 11 to 1 every Saturday right here on 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO, and the website is carprousa.com. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Have a good day.